Yeah, I think that's the big trade-off, is that, so it takes 4 years and it disrupts things. You know, people have been disrupted for 20 years or more, and once it's cleaned up, it's forever. You don't have operation and maintenance, you never have to worry about liquefaction bringing something up to the surface, you know, or just deterioration of whatever systems have to be installed. And that's why I wondered about the what seemed a very high cost, because if there was some way to revisit those costs, and if the cost comparison wasn't so daunting, then it might make, you know, taking 4 years to do it not look like it was so much trouble.
Well, if talking a little bit more on the implementability, the impact on the neighborhood, if it was to be excavated, would be tremendous. You're talking about trucks coming in constantly, long, steady stuff being hauled out, even if they've got some going out by rail. The odor, I don't know if you've ever been around a landfill that's being excavated.
Sadly,
out.
I have, but yes.
Yeah, the stench is horrendous, and it would fill the entire neighborhood. And you wouldn't have this just for a couple of days. You would have this fairly steady for 4 years. A lot of people like to say, okay, well, you can put a tent over it. Not on a landfill that size. There's no way to control it. You can put odor controls that are going to numb your nose, you know, cover up the smell. But still, it's going to be there, everywhere. I mean, there are risks related, potential risks to the surrounding area as far as if you do go in and try to excavate it out. Trying to deal with that for a full 4-year period, handling the community, you're going to have people moving out of the neighborhood simply because they won't tolerate it. I've seen it at other places.
Excuse me.
Did you, one second, Ms. Smith, did you have a follow-on to that? Since we're talking about your question, and after Mr. Smith, you may have.
Yeah, just two brief questions about that. So, two questions. One, you know how much in terms of, you talked about, I don't know how many cubic yards of stuff. Is there a number associated to the hot spot removal? That's my one question.
Yeah.
And my second question, it sort of speaks to what Mr. McGowan said, or sort of the question he raised about the 4 years, and I get the whole smell thing, and I understand that. I mean, I'd love to see the whole thing go. That's just me. But one of the other questions I have related to that, let's just say you do that, and there's some liquefaction. I've seen some of the design plans, or some of the talk we talked about. I think Ms. Keto was at a technical meeting where we talked about liquefaction and different sort of things you could do and that kind of thing. And let's just say in a date far away, the Navy's done, the city's transferred it all. Let's say there's some sort of seismic event or something that happens and things don't quite hold. I'm correct in saying that is the Navy still on the hook to come back and deal with that, right? Now, that being said, and hopefully we won't visit that, and I've heard all kinds of numbers about 7 point this and 8 point whatever, and things might withstand. I mean, has the Navy looked at what that might look like? I mean, if you have to come back and do that, do you take out part? It seems like a kind of a scary scenario, even in that sort of thing. We all might be gone by the time it happens, but still.
Yeah. Well, there have been some analyses done on liquefaction potential in and around the landfill. There's been studies done. You know, basically, what you're looking for are sand or sandy type of soils that could liquefy in the presence of, you know, the water shaking around in a seismic event, and then the stability, you know, on the underlying structure losing its stability, and then having displacement either horizontally or vertically. The analysis that's been done is that the majority of the soil layers in and around the landfill would not liquefy during what's referred to as the maximum probable earthquake, and the ones that could, there's been, you know, some predictions on the amount of lateral movement being up to 4 to 5 feet, and again, that's just a preliminary estimate, and then the vertical displacement possibly being up to 10 inches. Now, that information was used in this feasibility study to look at what at this point is considered a preliminary or conceptual design, if you will, for the most sensitive engineering structure, which would be the berm that would essentially tie in the landfill cap as it abuts the bay. And that engineering evaluation identified basically a reinforcement product that could be placed on the bottom of that berm to basically give that base of the berm stability in the event of a very large earthquake, so that you didn't have any catastrophic displacement. And you might have some, but those are things that would have to be, there's regular inspections done as part of any landfill cover, even the interim cover right on the landfill now, that's evaluated and inspected on a quarterly basis. And in the event of any seismic event, there are plans that would in place that would require immediate response to inspect for cover integrity and things like that. And if you needed to, repair, those repairs would be done, very promptly. Now, as far as long-term operation and maintenance, as you stated, the Navy is on the hook, so to speak, for as long as the waste pose a risk to humans or wildlife in the bay, they are responsible for maintaining it. And actually, based on a comment that Dr. McGowan had on our draft report, we looked at our cost estimate of, we currently have a 30-year operation and maintenance period that we estimated, which again is a fairly standard period for landfills, but it's essentially the bare minimum. Now, we did that for cost estimating purposes because this is a very preliminary document. But what we did, based on Dr. McGowan's comment, is we looked at the sensitivity of that number. Even if you increase the operation and maintenance period to 120 years. And what we found is that the incremental additional cost for that was not significantly greater than what we were already anticipating under the 30% 30-year maintenance period. And part of that is, without getting into a lot of the details, for any long-term project like that, you do what's called a present value analysis, where you essentially account for money accruing in the bank, so to speak, if you made an upfront investment. So that dollar amount kind of peters out. So
one thing, I think you had another question that was embedded in your first question.